Welcome to this week's edition of Freedom and Prosperity Radio, the weekly radio news magazine we put together here at the Virginia Institute for Public Policy. My name is Joe Thomas. You can learn more about us at tertiumquids.org. One of our key goals is to work the legislative process to be more than just a think tank, but to be a do tank, which makes our next topic a little controversial because many people view it as taking the easy way out, perhaps. But over the past couple of weeks, the West Virginia legislature has put forth what they titled HCR 8, which is been commonly known on the internet as Vexit 2020, as in Virginia exit, keying in on this weekend's Brexit movement. We got a chance to visit now with Delegate Gary Howell of the West Virginia legislature, the author of the Vexit bill. Several of the local municipalities are picking up on resolutions to pick up on a House concurring resolution out of West Virginia, where the offer of cessation has been brought back, or as it's become colloquially known as Vexit, here in Virginia regarding Second Amendment protections, Bill of Rights protections in general. The author of what is being called the Vexit legislation is Delegate Gary Howell of the West Virginia House of Delegates. Delegate Howell, thank you for taking a couple of minutes out with us this morning. How are you doing today, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on.
So are you ready for this influx of counties from Virginia? Because we already have several in the listening area alone who have resolutions before their board authorizing such a cessation.
Yeah, we're ready to bring them over. I mean, we look at it as our fellow Virginians are under attack from the left. Most of the people that have moved into the I-95 corridor are not Virginians. They don't share the heritage. And you've got these counties to the west of Richmond that do share a common heritage with West Virginia. So what better way to give them the opportunity to express their freedom, whether it be under the Second Amendment, the First Amendment, whichever, by joining the state of West Virginia.
Now, Governor Justice actually owns some property here in Albemarle County. It actually runs right next to property that the president's family owns here, and these are all things that the neighbors don't like me to talk about publicly. But do you already have a lot of folks here compelled by this offer? It's HCR 8, if I understand it correctly. This is based, just for historical context, on how West Virginia was formed in the Civil War era, correct? I think it goes back to the 1863 area?
Partially it is, but, Richmond has a habit of ignoring the counties mainly to the west. Of course, you lost Kentucky in 1792. You lost us in 1863. And I guess it's just these counties' turn for Richmond to start ignoring the wishes of them. So we'd like to give them the opportunity to join West Virginia.
What has been the reaction in Charleston and in other parts of West Virginia?
Emails have been split evenly between Virginia and West Virginia, overwhelmingly positive. I think a lot of the Virginians see, other things other than protecting their Second Amendment rights. The liberals are pushing to make abortion legal and cheap, where we're trying to protect the lives of the unborn. From tax structure, if a county was to come over, the average person would see about a $700 a year tax cut by becoming a West Virginia county. There's a lot of compelling reasons to join the state of West Virginia.
We hear this a lot politically. We hear about the Golden Crescent, which basically runs from the Washington, D.C. suburbs around through Richmond down the I-95 corridor out to the Hampton Roads area as being the progressive bits. Often government employees, and sometimes not even ideologically progressive, they're just in favor of big government because they work for the government. And then there's the rest of Virginia. And I guess that's really what this is tapped into, is that rest of Virginia saying, we're not like that at all over here, even the Democrats.
Yeah, ROVA is what I would call traditional Virginia. That's where you have the families that have been there for extended period of time. And if you go along the border between West Virginia and Virginia, you'll see those families on both sides of the border because they were split 156 years ago. Maybe it's time for reunification. Maybe we fit more with Rova than they do with Richmond. So, we want to give them the opportunity. This is a peaceful transition. Let them vote. Let them have their own self-determination, which is our way in this nation. And who knows, maybe it's something other states will look at. At some point, does Pennsylvania make this offer to Western New York?
Mm-hmm.
Does Indiana make this offer to Southern Illinois? At that point, does Northern Illinois make that offer to Gary, Indiana?
True.
Is it time to move these borders around? We do our congressional and legislative districts every 10 years because things change, but yet our state lines rarely move. Small adjustments, but not big adjustments. Maybe it's time we looked at that.
Well, we've brought this up frequently here. We've had a issue with a campaign about political gerrymandering for a while here in Virginia. We're visiting with Delegate Gary Howell of West Virginia, the author of the continuing resolution that would open up the door for reunification, is really what I'm calling it, for so much of Virginia and what left in 1863 to become West Virginia. But we were talking about gerrymandering for quite a bit of time until the Democratic Party gained majority in the House, and a lot of them have dropped the issue. But I've pointed out that there are 3 times as many Virginians now as there were 100 years ago, and the same number of representatives in the House, which to me is math that doesn't add up, and it adds up to people feeling, I think, what you're talking about, which is a little underappreciated, a little under-listened to.
Absolutely. And gerrymandering, of course, is a nationwide issue. West Virginia, on our congressional districts, it's a little hard for gerrymandering to occur here because we have in our Constitution that we can't split counties.
Mm-hmm.
So all our counties remain whole in the congressional districts. That does help. But, you're right, though. Gerrymandering can be a problem. It's, the old saying is the voters choose their legislators, but the legislators choose their voters when they do redistricting. It's happened since the beginning. Massachusetts is where the term gerrymandering comes from, and that was 200-some years ago.
Mm-hmm. So what would happen next? So now, for example, Fluvanna County and I believe Greene County have both proposed resolutions that would authorize their representatives, if they chose to. Do they then petition Richmond for permission to join West Virginia, or how would it work?
That is one way that it could work, by vote of the Virginia legislature to let them go. The other option would be they could sue in court. That option was presented to us by a gentleman from Yorktown. That would allow, once that the petition for that vote, they could go into federal court and say, we would like the right of self-determination. And typically the courts have agreed that people should have the right of self-determination if the Virginia legislature fails to act. But what I'm looking at, I think it has the advantage for the liberals in Richmond to let it happen. At that point, they would end up with a super majority in the I-95 corridor, what's left of Virginia. They could have their liberal utopia, do whatever they want. At the same time, they get rid of the people that they see as a problem, alien to what they want to do, and they get the freedom to join West Virginia and retain those freedoms.
Well,
so there is an advantage.
It is a beautiful state, and it has caught a lot of Virginians because they feel frustrated by the way Richmond has ignored them in many cases, even when Republican majorities have been there and pandered to the population centers. Delegate Howell, where can people follow this legislation? What happens next for the concurring resolution in the West Virginia House?
Right now it's in our Rules Committee. When it comes out of there, it'll go to the House floor for a full vote. We've not scheduled it for Rules Committee. So I would just invite people to watch the West Virginia Legislative website, pay attention to the news because there's a lot of news articles. And our lobby day is February 17th at our Capitol. I'd invite all Virginians to come up and let's hear directly from you. Come up to our lobby day. we'd like to hear from you.
It would be like a little Valentine's Day trip to the West Virginia Capitol, and what's more Valentinian than a reunification of a couple that's been estranged for so long. Delegate Howell, people can follow you at wvlegislature.gov, correct?
I believe that's what it is. I don't go to the state's website normally, but that sounds about right. But I'm sure a Google search will bring it up for them.
Well, I appreciate you joining us for a little while, and maybe we'll do that. We'll go live from West Virginia on the 17th. Let me know if I can use your office. We last Monday we were in Richmond at Delegate Nick Freitas's office for the wonderful, beautiful, peaceful rally of 50,000 people, all using their First Amendment to defend their Second Amendment. But it was a great time then, and we'll take you up on your offer.
We would love to have you. Thank you.